Father, we thank you for creating us in your image to be a people of love, power, and sound mind. Our Father, as we see here and experience the reflections of our past today from your accomplished children, may we be encouraged to renew our commitments to greatness. And thank you for that safe journey here. And Father, we ask that you might continue to bless our visitors as they are here. Continue to keep your arm of protection around them. And Father, we also thank you for the vision, the faith, and action of your children, Willie Adams and Mike Chambers, to organize this world-class event as a celebration of Black history and labor. And Father, we ask you to bless all the families that are represented in this place. And Father, we ask a special blessing upon our children. Continue to bless them, dear Father, that they might just continue to do the things that they are supposed to do in school. And just help us as we are adults, just to continue to lead them in the right path of righteousness. Help all of us, dear Father. Now, we ask you, as we go through with this program, dear Father, let our mind be open to receive these things that would help us to be better people. All of these prayers in the name of Christ Jesus, our Lord and Savior. Amen. Amen.
You know we had to get this started off correctly. Say it, don't say that. Thank you. Yes, we have to get this started off correctly. Welcome back. Okay, man. We're ready to get this thing started. So we're going to do something here that I know a lot of you have done before in your different environments, but I think it's an appropriate thing to do here because I see so many different faces, so many different cultures, so many different backgrounds, and we're all here for the same reason, and actually we all come from the same place anyway. But I want everybody to look around the room and say hello to somebody you don't know. If you would just do that so that we can get comfortable, just do that. Thank you. You don't know who you're sitting next to. Somebody special, guaranteed though. Thank you. There we go. Oh, okay, hold on now. You guys got into it. Yes. We are about to have a good time. Well, let me tell you what you have to look forward here today. We just heard from Roger Basefield. He's the president of the International Longshore Warehouse Union, Local 23. He spoke to you earlier. We've also got Darren Matamity. His band will perform the song with you earlier. They're going to be playing. Yes, that's okay. Don't hold the pause. Give it up. Let everybody have some. That's what we're here to do this morning. Celebrate. Also joining us is going to be Agrippa the poet. And for those of you who don't know, Agrippa is the gentleman who gave his kidney to a complete stranger. Say that next line. He's going to give his poetry. And he's here somewhere. And it only continues as we have more and more. Prince Cesar Lamine, the grandson of Nelson Mandela, will be here. Okay? Dr. Naomi Tutu, the daughter of South African Archbishop Desmond Tutu, will be here. That's what I'm talking about. The young woman who you just heard do the beautiful rendition of the national anthem and lift every voice and sing, Veronica Williams, is going to show us another side of her skill, and she's going to read some of her poetry. She'll be back up here. Give her a round of applause. Keep your hands busy. We're going to keep it moving this morning, this afternoon. Also, and I'm just going to say one word, two words here, Ozzie Davis. Ozzie Davis. And then I'm going to tell you, sir, there aren't many times where I don't have a whole lot to say, but I'm looking at you and I want to hear you talk. Also, Miss Cicely Tyson. Closing communication is going to be done by David Quinn, and right now, that's what you got to look forward to. So we kind of met each other. Now I want you to take 5 seconds, okay? I want you to take 5 seconds, because a lot of times when you're doing something, you don't realize what is taking place. But we have something incredible taking place here today. All of when Willie brought this thing up, he said, "I want this to be humanitarian." All right. We've done a lot of things, but I want this to be about humanitarian, people who give to others. And we have assembled, and I mean, when I say we, I mean all of us have assembled together in this room today, and we are about to embark on something incredible. So just take 5 seconds to think about it and enjoy it, and then you can get back into the program, okay? 5 seconds, that's all I want right now, 5 seconds, think about it. That's all I want you to think about what we are doing here. So please, welcome to the stage right now. Amanda's going to do our introduction. He's the Coast Committeeman from the International Longshore Warehouse, San Francisco, California, Mr. Joe Winslow.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. I want to make you aware of the fact that we have longshoremen and longshore women from up and down the West Coast representing a number of our locals here celebrating this great event with you today. It's a privilege to represent the ILWU and participate in this celebration of Black history and labor. On behalf of the titled officers and the Coast Committee, and especially the rank and file of the Longshore Division, I want to thank you for your invitation to speak here today. I was able to attend this event last year. And at that time, in talking to Brother Adams and Brother Chambers, they're always trying to get out of putting on this event. And as their elected officer, I've got an answer for you, and that answer is no. You continue to make this bigger and better every year, and there's no getting out of it. In the ILWU today, we are doubly proud. We are doubly proud to be a part of this event, and we are doubly proud that the two co-producers of this event, Brother Mike Chambers from Local 98 and Brother Willie Adams from Local 23, are the producers of such an event that has grown every year. We are proud of you, brothers. Thank you. Since our beginning, the ILWU, the International Longshore and Warehouse Union, has promoted a policy of inclusion. The ILWU learned from the many failed attempts to organize the West Coast waterfront. We learned that a policy of exclusion of Black and minority workers would doom any efforts to organize the working people on the West Coast. Failures of struggles prior to the Great West Coast Strike of 1934 taught Harry Bridges and our other leadership that it is not just in our best interest to do so, it is morally imperative. That the recognition of all workers' fight belongs to all workers, and that we are one family and need to work together now and into the future. The ILWU is a part of the largest society in which it lives. The struggle to educate our membership on our policies and goals of inclusion and sharing is an ongoing process. We still have work to do, both as a union and as a society as a whole. This work is not finished, and it goes forward. The ILWU today stands as one of the most progressive and powerful labor unions in the world. It is a tapestry formed by all of its members of all ethnic backgrounds. What keeps our union strong is our understanding and appreciation of the concept of solidarity. Solidarity is not only for our own members and their families, but it is also for the struggle of workers not only in our country, but also around the world as they strive for a greater share of the wealth and the prosperity that they produce. Our union would not be in the position it is today if not for the immeasurable contributions of our Black members. Among those who have served the ILWU as international officers were Brother Bill Chester as an international vice president and Brother Curtis McLean as international secretary-treasurer. Currently in the ILWU, Brother Lawrence Tebow of San Francisco serves on the International Executive Board, and me being from the Northwest, I'm very proud that Brother Willie Adams is also currently serving as an officer on the International Executive Board of the ILWU. Not only do we celebrate those Black members who have risen from the ranks and been elected officials in our democratic process, we celebrate the contributions of all workers in our union. They are the ones that have made our union great, and continue to help the ILW grow and progress into the next century. Their history of struggle, within and without, have added immeasurably to the solid foundation that is the ILWU. It is important to appreciate the contributions and values of all members of our union family. All people of all ethnic backgrounds contribute their gifts to our union and to our society. We are all a part of a tapestry. Take away one part of that tapestry and the whole is made less. Remove one thread and it could all fall down. I want to thank you for the opportunity to recognize on behalf of the ILWU the unique and essential contribution our black brothers and sisters have made in the past and continue to make for us today, not only for our union, but also for our nation. I have two tasks today. The second task is to introduce the next speaker. I met Patty Crumlin at the International Dockers Workers Solidarity Conference in Los Angeles in August. And I think he belongs to the second best labor union in the world, the National Maritime Union of Australia. Brother Crumlin and his membership know firsthand the power that government and capital can use to exploit the workers. He can tell you better about that confrontation and struggle firsthand. And it gives me great pleasure to introduce Brother Patty Crumlin of the Maritime Union of Australia.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, honoured guests, friends, brothers and sisters. I and my union are greatly honoured and delighted to make our small contribution to this wonderful celebration. There's a breadth of vision and a generosity of spirit, as well as a determination in application that lives in the hearts of programs like this. Because of the work and obvious joy it brings, resonates far wider than your local community or even national awareness. It reaches out to all of us who care to listen, and resonates with a note of optimism for the future and a feeling of worthiness and esteem for who we are and what we care for in the labour movement. Thank you, Willie, and thank you, Mike, for that gift. The celebration of labour history laces its shoes with an understanding of the history of exploitation of cheap labour in the search for profit by the wielding of bludgeons of segregation and unfair competition and access to the workforce and workplace. It's a proud history of effective and courageous opposition to this brutality and the provision of commitment to action that brings workers and communities together and that systematically eliminates those things that keep us apart. The powerful dynamic of the black movement and organised labour has been a strong and effective pejorative in that journey. Racism, like sexism, and other human movements built on prejudice and the baser instincts of fear, grows and thrives in ignorance. It is a story of corporate and government policies in labour that set black against white and against each other. It has a constant historical theme, and new chapters continue to be written today. The division on race in this country were indistinguishable from the divisions of labour. This harsh crucible also is the fertile ground for the better aspects of the human condition. For every instance of the manipulation of black labour, particularly in the first quarter century of the last century, in strike breaking and erosion of labour standards, that work has been confounded and met by the building of non-racist and pro-democratic labour institutions. Great stories wait for us in the understanding of the American Negro Labour Council, the League of Struggle for Negro Rights, the Trade Union Educational League, and the Unemployed Council. The Jim Crow policies of the day that insinuated themselves into a program directed at an effective and united labour movement were squarely met with structures and movements based on humanity, and social justice and sharing. The Second World War saw a mobilisation of labour that was awe-inspiring in its effectiveness, as America and the world steeled itself against the political corruption of fascism. And this mobilisation also translated into an opportunity to deal with the structured, exploitative divisions and elitism in the job. Not only racial division, of course, but sexist division. This crisis clearly brought out the finer aspects of our society and state of being, and labour rights were a dynamic driver in workers meeting those challenges. Trade unions thrived at that time and were identified in all halls, other than those practising their own brand of corporate fascism, as being inextricably linked to the national interest and the world interest. Trade unions and the labour movement at war came with banners of equality, industrial participation, democracy and social justice. It is not fear that motivates human development and achievement, but harmony, inclusion, common goals. At war, this was clear, and great strides were made. This is an important lesson for us today, in a world again in crisis, but with an enemy not nearly so clearly defined. Global markets, global economies must be intrinsically bonded to the global community and those values of ethical and moral development, or great contradictions and dysfunction emerges. The history of black labour and the labour movement knows this, is a knowledge earned in a fearsome journey. As an Australian labour leader and maritime worker, the inspiration for continuing our journey, my journey, and the people that travelled it are identified, loved, and understood. Frederick Douglass, whose voice will be heard today, long after he is gone. Martin Luther King, who knew civil rights was indistinguishable from labour rights and worker rights. Many others, black and white, Harry Bridges, who has been spoken here today from the ILWU, loved in Australia and Australian, as he is here and elsewhere. People speaking, working, striving for a better humanity. Nelson Mandela and the fight for emancipation in South Africa. I know Willie and Michael speak with that same voice, and today have provided a rich addition to our song and the choir that continues to reach out. This is a beautiful thing, to be here and to know that what we do is just and right and shared. My young brother and I have travelled halfway across the world because we hear the song still. It is notes of courage and compassion, love and dignity, self-esteem, mutual respect. It has a verse in every country, in our country, Australia, where we have struggled also to realise similar aspirations. In our black history, it has been a struggle also of recognition, leading to equality. Black Australians have in addition been robbed of the land over which they were guardians for 40,000 years, denied economic, democratic and industrial rights until late in the 20th century, and continue to struggle for legitimate compensation. My brother dock worker, Bevan Longbottom, a black Australian, Aboriginal Australian himself, we've made a long journey, but a journey that has at its end a wonderful gift and goal, the goal of celebration in being. Our struggle for Aboriginal rights in Australia continues, for land rights, for labour rights, equal opportunity, economic independence, and also continues to be ground out of engagement with both political and economic elitism and apathy, as was the case in our recent strike at Patrick's. This understanding of black labour history in the US has provided inspiration and fortitude for generations of Australians seeking and sharing your ideals. This is perhaps one of the greatest achievements of our labour movement, our collective willingness to combat oppression and develop justice in our community, and know that that is inseparable from reaching out to each other worldwide. This vision of labour demands greater recognition in a troubled world, and in a world in which we now find ourselves. The history of black labour, the history is inseparable from the history of the national interest, notwithstanding that many, many forces have opposed us along the way. We must use those lessons to unravel the solutions to a world riven by contradiction, doubt, insecurity, and dysfunction. Solutions for the individual cannot be separated from solutions for the community, or our true potential cannot be realised. This program is timely and valuable. If we cannot celebrate black labour history, we cannot know ourselves and recognise our humanity. We will have failed intellectually, emotionally, and spiritually. To deny or ignore that history is to preserve and enhance the problems of today and the future. The struggle of black workers, working men and women, oppressed criminally by corrupted economic and political leadership and forces, is an important to the health and self-esteem of the American nation, as is the struggle of workers internationally for rights and protections today in the monolithic global environment we are in. Blood has been spilt, lives destroyed, families bludgeoned asunder in a struggle for freedom and action and access not only to action but to thought. As your black history instructs, crushing force and advantage has been unable to quash our aspirations and never shall. Our history, your history, black history, today is understood, embraced and celebrated. And we all draw from that well as add to it. And yet, at the World Trade Organisations and other powerful and elite forums, national forums in Australia and no doubt here, arrogance and isolation surrounds political and economic leadership. Our struggle has earned us our voice, and if the door remains locked, then we will sing all the louder elsewhere. Today in Tacoma it is a sweet refrain, led by black history as well as black music. The blues for that lost and given up in struggle, the jazz of human creativity and freedom, and the hard-driving rock and rap of a movement that will not be denied. The beat goes on. How could we be anywhere else? Thank you very much.
This is Patty Crumlin. Are you having a happy Black History Month? All right, you're having a good Black History Month. We have a lot more coming in store for you. I told you something called foreshadowing that I was going to mention to you as we went through this program, and I said we were going to get dressed today. Are some of you on the same page with me? Do you know what I'm talking about? I'm going to give you a little bit more information. What we just got was information about labor and about union and the impact of black people. We're going to get information from international royalty about black people. We're going to get information from humanitarians, from educators, from entertainers, from all aspects of life today about black history, okay? And I want you to know that we're going to get dressed. One of the ways that we pass on our history, all people pass on histories as well, and it's very vital, is oral history. The first history you probably learned was at home. It was, or it should have been. And if it's not, then maybe hopefully you got it from somewhere else, but you're going to get it from here today. So I'm going to share with you a little story that I've shared before, and it's a very quick story, but it has to do with getting dressed. And it's part of my oral history that I'm very proud of, so I love to share it. Now, I learned something when I was very young, that I needed to get dressed. My mother would constantly tell me, how long am I going to have to keep dressing you? And I didn't know what she was talking about, so I did the normal things that you would do. I would try and put my pants on, try and put my shirt on, try and match the colors, and I did this continually, but here I am, 17, 18 years old, and she'd look at me some days and say, oh, when am I going to have to stop dressing you? And I still didn't get it, and I thought I knew what she meant. But as I began to get older and go into the world more, And I didn't have her around anymore. It took on a special, significant meaning. And then I remembered what she said. She said to me, before you go out of the house, put your shirt on and your pants on. And I said, okay. And I remember there was days, I look back now, where I had my pants on and not my shirt. Then there were days when I thought I had it together and I put my shirt on and not my pants. And then finally there reached a point where I said, okay, I think I have this thing right. And I put my shirt on, and I put my pants on, and I went out into the world, and I said, okay, I'm ready for whatever you bring me. And I went and sat down for a job interview. The man shook my hand, gave me the job, stood up, and didn't have his pants on. And I said, okay, I know, I understand now. So are you ready to get dressed? Are you ready to let these people dress you? That's what I'm talking about. Right now, here's Darren Matamany and his band. Mr. Darren Matamany. Let me give you a little background on Darren. There's some stuff here. There's some things that I know about Darren, and there's some things that I may very well not know. But he definitely won, for 2 years, he won the Northwest Music Award for Best Jazz Artist. With his own original material. He did instruct me that he just recently released another CD. Is it available in stores now? It's available on your website. You have any with you? Oh, see, he has some with him too. So deal with that after the show, Mr. Darren Matamany. Right now, I'd like to bring to the stage someone who I personally am very proud of, because I don't think that I could do what he did. And I mentioned that to him. I don't even think that after I have passed away, I could do what he did. And this man gave away his kidney to someone that he didn't know because he just felt like it was the right thing to do. Now, all the circumstances that enter into this, are you a match? Are you compatible? And it all worked out in his favor. And in the man whose life he saved, who also is right here today. And I know he didn't necessarily want to be acknowledged, but it's good to see you, Bill. How's that kidney? My man. And you're nice and colorful too, so we can see you, and that's a good thing, because you are here. Let them know. But I am very proud to bring to the stage a poet. I've had him on my show a couple times. He's given me words of wisdom, and he's also given me some very good words of wisdom in my personal life, which I thank him for. Please put your hands together and bring to the stage Agrippa the poet.
you very much. I think I'm going to move over to this microphone here to do my presentation of the poetry. And I'm going to do a poem, and then I'm going to do 2 short songs, old Negro songs, from one of my heroes and a friend of my daddy from years ago that I found out. But there are songs made famous by the late, great Paul Robeson. And I will be performing those 2 songs after the poem. So after I do the poem, hold your applause till I do the 2 songs, and then we'll go from there. God bless you. Your brother. We all have different fathers, and yes, we all have different mothers. And you may not recognize me at all, but I'm still one of your brothers. I pray you understand my feelings, though this great friendship can begin. For the words that I'm sharing with you all today, they come from deep down within. Listen to what I say, ask questions if you don't understand, for I want nothing to be over your heads. I'll help you all if I can. If you receive me as your brother, you'll be surprised at what I will say. And if my color still bothers you, please don't let it get in the way. We should still be fighting like the rest of the world and not have any freedom. Yes, I'm honored to be an American, and I'm proud of all the things we've won. Slavery was a great test of survival. Those tribulations made my people strong. And now we can adapt to any climate or situation. It doesn't take us blacks very long. Slavery brought the best out of my people, but its scars all Americans must wear. For no one can turn back the hands of time, if they wanted to or even if they cared. You see, my heritage is a part of this great country, and this no one can change. Yet, many will hate me because of my color. But I'm an American, just the same. And no murder, hatred, or prejudice could ever change this one important fact, that I'm honored to be an American, and I'm very proud of being black. So speaking as a black man, I can say that we've all come very far, and you too must be proud of your heritage, no matter what color you are. Don't be surprised here, but I'm getting addressed, okay? No more auction block for me. No more, no more. No more auction block for me. Many thousand gone. Where are you hiding? If you don't come, I'm gonna tell your old mammy. Well, there ain't no hammer that's on this mountain that rings like mine, boys, that rings like mine. I've busted this rock, boys, from here to Macon, all the way to the jail, boys. Yes, I'm back to the jail. Oh, you jack of diamonds, yeah, you jack of diamonds. Well, you know you're bold, boys. Yes, you know you're bold. You rob my pocket, yeah, you rob my pocket. You done a rob of my pocket, of my silver and a gold water boy. Where are you hiding? If you don't come, I'm gonna tell your old mammy. Water boy, water boy.
The next guest that we have here is a member of royalty. A member of royalty. Are you feeling like you're getting dressed? Are you feeling like you're getting dressed? All the different accessories that we have here for you to put on. This gentleman is Prince. Well, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about him first. He was born into a royal family of Swaziland. He's the grandson of Nelson Mandela. And he is here today to help us further get dressed. I am honored, delighted, flattered, and anything that you can think of to be able to introduce this gentleman. This is Prince Cesda Lamini.
Sanibonani. That is a good day. That's how we say good day in Zulu. I bring to all of you the warmest greetings from the Mandela and the Dlamini royal families of Southern Africa. I find it very appropriate today that we celebrate Black History Month, not because it's my birthday on the 24th of February, but because it is a great time for us to remember who we are, where we come from, and most importantly, where we're going to. The International Longshoremen Union shares so many similarities with the Miners Union of South Africa. The struggles have been very similar, and I'm proud to say that the successes have equally been as great. I had a wonderful conversation this morning with your former president, Mr. Dave Arian, and he was telling me about the contribution that I would like to be so thankful for today, that the international longshoremen made in the struggle in South Africa. It's very simple. You just shut down your port here. That was a small economic contribution, and yet it had huge political implications. As you know, the import and export of South African products was banned from here, and literally the South African government had to go all the way to the east coast to be able to bring products into the country, and that was obviously very costly for them. And they changed a couple of things, and I would like to recognize that and to say thank you for that. I am, to a great extent, perhaps here because of that contribution, you know? Because we didn't have the freedom, we didn't have the opportunities, academically and otherwise, to be able to travel, and you did make that difference. Thank you. Now, this is the first Black History Month celebration event that I'm privileged to attend. I've only been now more permanently in the US for only a year. And I was asking myself, hey, why does it have to be just in February? I mean, seriously, honestly, I was asking myself that question. I was like, why does it have to be February? It has to be 365 days of the year, man. It has to be 7 days a week. It's got to be every hour, every minute. We're special. We're beautiful, for God's sake. When I received the invitation to come here, I thought of so many things. I said, God, what am I going to say? This is the first Black History Month. And I thought of a lot of things. But I was very fortunate. I had a wonderful conversation with the Reverend from my church. And I asked him, I said, do you have any contributions on what perhaps I could say? It's my first celebration. I really find it very unusual to celebrate just this event just in February, you know? And he said, oh, it should be easy for you to celebrate Black History Month. I said, why? He said, you have the greatest role model alive. I said, oh, okay. Don't you think that will... That's what I was saying. He said, no, it's very simple. Just go out there, just talk about Nelson Mandela. And I said, now hold on a second. I think that's going to sound so biased. If I have to say anything about my granddad, it's just going to sound so one-sided. But he opened up a really great opportunity for me to see things differently. He said to me, do you know that you have the opportunity to show the world a different side of Nelson Mandela that perhaps they've never seen before? And I really thought about that. And I said to myself, okay, I'll accept the invitation. Now, to the world, Nelson Mandela is a towering figure of strength, of forgiveness, of reconciliation, humility, all the great qualities. I sat down to myself and I said, I have to share this because it's so important. When you sit next to the man, you feel like you're in the presence of God. The humility, the compassion, the respect for other people, it's just awesome. As I said, the world may seem in a different way, but to me, he's just a granddad, you know? It's like, how do I just talk about these things? How do you explain this to people? And I thought, you know, maybe this is a way I can explain it. It's very simple. What I've seen in him and what I've learned is that he has qualities that we all have. I was like, you know, we're all special. He has innate abilities, innate qualities that you have, that he has, that she has. And I thought to myself, wow, that is beautiful to know, to share with other people, to make them realize, not just to make them realize, but to also remind them, especially on the Black History Month celebration, that we're all special. And that you don't have to be a president, you don't have to be Nelson Mandela to be able to do extraordinary things. Just to elaborate further on that point, because really that is my thesis. I went to a function, just a public speaking engagement, not so long ago, about 2 months ago, in Arkansas. And fascinating town with all the rednecks and fascinating. It was so much fun. So, this is interesting. There's 2 kids, right? This is an elementary school. You're talking kids here between the ages of 6 and 13. And one boy, I kind of delivered my speech, and you know, then I allowed opportunity for questions. So this boy, this 7-year-old, just comes up with the most unusual question. You know, kids can ask you questions sometimes that you say, oh my God, how do I just answer this? This kid says to me, you're a prince, right? I go, duh, yeah. Here's the question he asked me. He says, you know, I would love to become a prince too. How do you do that? And I'm like, God, how do I answer this question? I had 2 options. I could have either said to this kid, hey, you're born into royalty, forget it. You can never become a prince. This is something that is subscribed, you're just born into, okay? That was one option. But you know, as I was just about to answer this kid, I said, hold on to that thought. There's something much more different that I could perhaps portray and maybe share with this kid. I said, you know something? You are already a prince, okay? And the girl sitting right next to you is already a princess. It's because what's inside of you, your innate abilities. And I just may be born in a... There I was, and this little boy and this little girl he was just speechless, you know? And I think that is what is very important to remember. Now, we have people in your own backyard here in America that share those same qualities that I'm talking about. And these people are our role models, and I found a lot of inspiration. Some of those would include Harry Bridges, Norman Rice, Condoleezza Rice, Frederick Douglass, Rosa Parks, Charles Drew, Naomi Tutu, Cicely Tyson, Ossie Davis right here, Allen Iverson, Michael Chambers, and William Adams. Now I repeat again, you don't have to be a president or a prince to be able to behave in a certain way. It's just every day. I would encourage the local community here to visit the African American Museum here in Tacoma and the Douglas Truth Library. I did a little bit of research before I came here on some of the resources that you have. And yeah, that's what it's all about. Let's just reach out. Starts with the small things we do. Let's communicate. Let's share each other's cultures, where we come from, and most importantly, too, it's for us to reach out to other racial groups. That's what my grandfather always reminded me. He said, as you celebrate who you are deep down, be so strong that you're willing to jump over to the other side, because you have enough love to be able to do that. I would like to thank you so much for the opportunity.
I'm gonna bring him back up here. Prince Cesar Diamini.
Here, come on.
Happy birthday. And see, he just reminded me of something that I forgot, and I remembered a long time ago. I remember a long time ago thanking Latrell Sprewell and Allen Iverson for being bold enough to wear braids so that an executive, I can wear my braids into my office. Because before they would have thought I was a gang member. It's just my hair. That's all it is. You know what I want to do real quick? And you gotta work with me. We've been great, but I know everybody's been sitting down. So if you can just, in your own place, for 30 seconds, stand up and shake it out. Well, if we can do that, don't walk around, but just stand up for 30 seconds and shake it out so you can get some of the bugs out. If you don't want to, don't worry about it. Okay, loosen it up a little bit. We've been sitting down for a long time. We want to keep the spirits flowing, keep the blood flowing. Okay, sit back down. Sit back down. Sit back down. Sit back down. Mr. Davis. My friend. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, once again, two-time winner of the Northwest Music Awards. He's got CDs out on his own. He's got one available right now, and he actually has with him, joining him, is a singer who I've seen on several occasions who is just mind-blowing. Dermatomedy featuring Miss Corla Weigel.
What's up, Corla Weigel. You know we need to, pray to our Heavenly Father. We need to sing. We need to tell one another. We need to love one another. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I want to know what's going on. So, for the waggle.
All right, Corla. Every time you give me the same feeling. Dear Matamidi and Corla Wallow, the next guest that we're going to be, once again, having a good Black History Month? Now ask you again, are you feeling as though you're getting dressed? Okay. To help you further accessorize from New York City. It's a wonderful woman. We've just been enjoying the greatest conversations. I just met her today. Feel like I've known her forever, just like everybody in here. So this is just such a great thing. She's a poet. She's a singer. She's helping with this program, all the details that are going on. She's doing a number of things. She's going to drop that hat right now and put on another hat. The hat of educator, the hat of entertainer, the hat of poet, the hat of singer, the hat of person who is giving what's inside of her to us out here, and I can't wait to hear it. Please bring to the stage from New York, Miss Veronica Williams.
Born February 1st, 1902 in Joplin, Missouri, Langston Hughes published the poem, The Negro Speaks of Rivers, when he was just 19. His works include short stories, autobiographies, anthologies, many works for the stage, and poetry collections such as Montage of a Dream Deferred. This is the centennial birthday of Langston Hughes, and this program, in part, is going to be dedicated to that occasion. His life and work were enormously important in shaping the artistic contributions of the Harlem Renaissance of the 1920s. Hughes refused to differentiate between his personal experience and the common experience of Black America. He wanted to share the experiences of his people and tell their stories without personalizing them, so the reader could step in and draw his own conclusions. So in honor of his 100th birthday, let these words from some of Langston Hughes' best-loved poems dare you to dream. Dream deferred. What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun? Does it fester like a sore and then run? Does it stink like rotten meat? Or does it crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load. Or does it explode? Langston on oppression. Now dreams are not available to the dreamers, nor songs to the singers. In some lands dark night and cold still prevail, but the dream will come back and the song break its jail. Langston on color. Wear it like a banner for the proud, not like a shroud. Wear it like a song soaring high, not moan or cry. One of my personal favorites is I Too Sing America. I am the darker brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes. But I laugh and eat well and grow strong. Tomorrow, I'll be at the table when company comes. Nobody'll dare say to me, eat in the kitchen then. Besides, they'll see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. I, too, am America. Dream dust. Gather out of stardust, earth dust, cloud dust, and splinters of hail. One handful of dream dust, not for sale. And finally, still here. I've been scarred and battered, my hopes the wind done scattered. Snow has freezed me, sun has baked me. Seems like between them they done tried to make me stop laughing, stop loving, stop living. But I don't care. I'm still here.
All right, I'm having so much fun. Are you having fun? Okay. We're gonna keep this thing going. Happy Black History Month again, all month long. Even though, like Cesar said, 365 days a year, we are celebrating. Remember when I told you to take 5 seconds earlier? Aren't you glad you took that 5 seconds? We're making history right now. The next person that I'm very, very thrilled, honored, proud once again to bring to the stage is someone who is going to bring to us an enormous sense of history, which is what this is all about. And I'm gonna say, read it, okay? And I am going to bring her to the stage in all her beauty, loveliness, and I can feel the warmth coming from you right now, because you don't know me, but you're just smiling at me. Please put your hands together and bring up Dr. Naomi Tutu.
Good morning. It really is an honor and a privilege for me to be here. I didn't know Tacoma knew how to put on a celebration like this, but you know how to celebrate. I have been sitting in my chair and dancing to the music and discovering muscles I forgot I had about 20 years ago. But it has been a glorious occasion. And I think that if there is one thing that this occasion must be teaching us all, it is that history, Black history, is not only about the leaders and the stories that we read about. History, Black history, is about each and every one of us. That we have the opportunity in our day-to-day lives to make history, to be a part of history. And if there is one thing that Willie and Mike have shown us, it is that wherever you are, you have an opportunity to make a change. You have an opportunity to teach. You have an opportunity to reach out. You have an opportunity to build our communities. And I too am struck by the fact that why do we celebrate Black history only in February? The shortest month in the year. The truth is that Black history is world history. Our struggle is a worldwide struggle for justice, for compassion, for truth, and for what Dr. Martin Luther King once called the beloved community. And racism is a part of those many injustices that face us in our struggle for a beloved community. A country, a community, a world that accepts racism will accept, as we see, sexism, economic exploitation, militarism. As long as we see racism and say, well, you know what? Things are better than they were. As long as we see racism and say, well, let's not complain too much. As long as we see racism and we say, well, what do they want? Then we are not struggling for justice. We are wallowing in oppression. You know, last year I attended the World Conference Against Racism. And I know that most people in this country know of that as the conference that the US walked out of because of a conflict around Israel and the Palestinians. Well, let me tell you, as somebody who was there, the conference went on. And we learnt about the struggles of Aboriginal people in Australia. We spoke to Dalits from India, the so-called untouchables. We heard about the successes of the Roma people in Central and Eastern Europe. We heard about the struggles of black women unionizing in the South of the United States. And we organized, and we formed coalitions, and we continue to speak, and we continue to struggle. And we were sad, and we were angry that the US government saw fit to walk away from a worldwide discussion on racism. We were saddened. We were saddened that the leader, the world power, was too afraid to sit and hear the cries and the demands and the hopes of the oppressed people around the world. But you know what also we knew? We knew that governments do not speak for all their people. And we in South Africa, maybe more than most, know that reality. Because we know that the Reagan administration did not want to impose sanctions on South Africa. We know that President Reagan actually vetoed the bill when it was passed. But we know that people in this country marched, wrote letters, were arrested, boycotted, pressured their congresspeople so that that veto was overridden. And sanctions were imposed against South Africa because that was the will of the American people. And we know that it's the will of the American people that racism be ended. We know that the vast majority of people in this country know that racism is not a black problem. It's not a black issue. Racism is an issue that takes away freedom from each and every one of us. Racism is something that limits our opportunities for community. Racism is oppression. Racism is injustice. That's right. And we know that each and every time somebody, somewhere, stands up in opposition to racism, they are making Black history. They are making history. It might be that young person who refuses to be called nigger, who says, I know who I am, and that is not nigger. I am a person of infinite value, made in the image of God. That person, that young person, is making Black history. That young person is making history. It might be those customs officers who told us the story of Black women being profiled as they traveled through American airports, who let us know how Black women were more likely to be chosen, to be searched, were seen as more likely to be carrying drugs. Those people, by informing us, by being part of the struggle, were making Black history. They were making history. It might be those women, you know, the ones in church who look at you when you are not acting right and tell you, you know you are better than this. You know that you have something to give this world. And we expect you to respect your gift, to respect your blessing. Those women are making Black history. They are making history. It is all of us here today who say, I am here to celebrate Black History Month, but I know that Black history is at the foundation of American history. It is at the foundation of world history. So maybe officially, we say in February, we celebrate Black History Month. But we know that we live and we celebrate Black history each and every day. A while back, my daughter, who I tell her that I think she watches way too much TV because now she can recite back to me ads as it's going on. And I say, do you not worry that you know a little bit too much about television? But she was watching the Disney Channel and watching, I believe the movie is called Selma, Bloody Selma. Selma, Lord Selma? Okay, see, I don't watch a lot of television. My daughter watches a lot of television. And that evening when I put her to bed, she said to me, I don't know if I can sleep because I saw in that movie this young girl being trampled as people were running away from the police during a protest. And I said to her, you know what? The best thing that you can do is before you go to sleep, say to that young girl, thank you. Thank you that you marched and were injured for my sake. That I can attend school. That I can live in this community. That I have an access to a better quality education. Thank you. And I am sorry that your young age, you had to sacrifice for me. But I thank you and all those people who marched, who were hosed, who were beaten, who were killed, who became part of my history. And I hope that each of us, every day, remembers to thank somebody who made Black history in our lives. And that as we thank them, we pledge ourselves to continue making Black history, to making history. Thank you.
Dr. Naomi Tutu. And in what you just said about being thankful, we are very thankful that you are joining us today. And we have this to present to you, and I'm going to read it to everyone. It says, presented to guest speaker named Dr. Naomi Tutu in appreciation for your participation in the celebration of Black History and Labor Program, September 20th, today, 2002, Tacoma, Washington, from event sponsors, Mr. Willie Adams and Mike Chamber. This is for you. Once again, Dr. Naomi Tutu. Yes. We are having a good time. I know that we are. I'm not even going to ask you because we are having a good time. I'm just going to make that blanket statement for the whole room. We are having a good time. Celebrating Black History Month. Right now, Mr. Davis. Let's see, you have to say that. Right now, once again, for your musical entertainment, while we relax before we get back into the program, I'd like to bring Mr. Darren Matamity and his wonderful band.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We're going to feature on this next song. Keyboard is great for Mr. Kenji's band, Mr. Robert Depp. We're wanting to give it up for him.
mother who was extremely wise, a little aggressive, and utterly relentless when she gets a notion in her head. Be grateful. Mothers see in us abilities we may take for granted and dare to dream for us of great successes that we may never enjoy because we allow our fear of failure to stagnate the possibilities of our achievements. It was at the urging of my mother that I released my first book of poetry last year entitled Visions, a trilogy. I'd like to share 2 readings with you from this book. The first, I Met Me, is dedicated to all of those who have a really hard time looking in the mirror. I met me to myself, for myself, because of myself. I met me in a place I thought I'd never be. Despondent, desperate, alone. I met me in a place I never cared to see. In solitude, no visitors allowed. I met me at a time when dreams I dreamt had all but faded away. A time when sorrow filled my cup and passion I dared not taste. But when we met, my me and I searched deeply each other's eyes. My heart did weep and leap for joy to find to my surprise that me I was so fearful of, what I had come to be, was not as ugly as I thought, but a rare, incredible thing of beauty. And so I'll dance with me alone, to cosmic rhythms all our own, and no soul shall ever take again this me I've come to know. Several years ago, there was an uproar about women enrolling at West Point and the possibility of women in the military seeing active duty. And I wondered to myself, what's the big deal? After all, women have always been soldiers. And it prompted me to write these words. I don't know what all the fuss is about. Women have always been soldiers. They want to question our right to bear arms when we've been bearing them all along. How else could we keep a troubled generation aligned and walk them in the straight and narrow if we didn't swing a strap now and then so that they could learn to always watch the sparrow? They say that we, the delicate ones, should not fight our foes in combat. Say we might get hurt or worse if we, the front line, should man. But haven't we always fought great wars for rights, liberty, respect, and such? And when another breaks our heart or spirit, our delicacy then never seems to mean much. Think we can't handle the bloodshed, fall apart within the nap. How do they suppose we survived all those times our men lay dying in our laps? How much dent does it take to lose your son to the cruel streets, or to yourself become a victim? Just one more name on the system's stat sheet. We've watched you walk in and out of our lives with all your pomp and splendor, never needed your care nor your concern, never had it long enough to savor. We've done pretty well in this battle of life, earned but never received our right honor. So wake up, America. Take another look. Women have always been soldiers.
All right, Miss Veronica, please. Woo! Knock somebody's name down. Got me excited over here.
Put it back though. Is it still working? Okay. We will keep this program music. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Are you getting dressed? Huh? Are you getting dressed? This next keynote speaker graduated from high school in Waycross, Georgia, attended Howard, began his career as a writer and actor. The Rose McClendon Players in Harlem in 1939. He most recently appeared in films The Miss Evers Boys, Dr. Dolittle, Get on the Bus with Spike Lee. After making his film debut in No Way Out, Mr. Davis appeared in such films as The Cardinal, The Hill, Scalp Hunters, and if I'm not mistaken, that's also where we met his wife. Ozzie Davis and his wife Ruby Dee have produced several television specials, including Today Is Ours, Martin Luther King, The Dream in the Dream, and 2 segments of A Walk Through the 20th Century with Bill Moyers. Mr. Davis has received many honors and citations, including the New York Urban League Frederick Douglass Award, the NAACP Image Award, the National Medal of Arts, and most recently to both him and Ruby Dee, the Screen Actors Guild Life Achievement Award. He's the author of children's books, and he and Ruby Dee recently marked their 50th wedding anniversary. And they did this with the publication of their autobiography, With Ozzie and Ruby, In This Life Together. He's also writing a play. I'm about to introduce him. Give me 1 second here. Please put your hands together for Mr. Ozzie Davis.
Thank you. It's like coming home. As a matter of fact, from my feelings, I know that I am home, and I appreciate the expression. I bring greetings from various segments of my family. My wife is somewhere in Mount Vernon with the mayor today, celebrating what is left of African American History Month or whatever it is. But I also bring greetings from somebody else who is a little higher on the authority chain, and that's my mother. Mama is 103. So Mama doesn't make house calls anymore. But I asked her, once, I said, Mama, I'm going all the way out to Seattle. She said, you are? I said, yeah. So I said, now what should I tell the people when I get to Seattle? She said, well, tell them what I told you. It's all right to get old, but don't get ugly. I said, Mama, I'm doing the best I can. We also, Ruby and I, have the advantage of having people come into our lives and they don't leave. They stay forever, really. There's a young lady here, who got to be our daughter, really. And then Ruby did a play out here. So this young lady came out to be with Ruby for a while, and something happened. She saw something out here that she liked very much, and she decided that she had to leave the home we had for her in New Rochelle and come out here. We never knew exactly what it was. Maybe it was rain. But Mama particularly told me to tell Sharon Arthur, hello, because when Mama was 100, Sharon was the person who put down the computers and the pencils and the papers and went into the kitchen and come back with some magic that still got our mouths smacking all over the place. Sharon Arthur, would you stand up and talk about that? You know, and since I've been here, Willie and Mike and everybody gone out of their way to make me feel welcome, and truly, I do appreciate that very much. I congratulate you, I congratulate the members of the union, longshoremen, for this extraordinary and very important occasion, this combining the history of black people with the history of labor, since in essence the two are really one. And it doesn't hurt us to stop every now and then and remember some of the basic circumstances which brought us to this country in the first place, which determined our reception once we got here, and which even now makes us wonder whether sometimes black folks ain't still up for grabs. So, in order to protect ourselves, we have to once in a while, you know, stop and take stock. Let's remind ourselves, you know, how it was that we got here in the first place, when we were invited to come over to America and participate in the great democratic experiment. You know how it was. We were in Africa having the time of our lives, sitting under banana trees and coconut trees, not doing anything, not bothering anybody, but they said, y'all come on, we need some help. We need some labor over here. And so we decided in the neighborly spirit to come over. And of course, once we got here, they showed us where we live, down by the river and the mosquitoes and the various other places. But we came here as labor. Everybody knew that from the get-go. We were labor. We were specifically labor. We were slave labor. Slave labor, you know, you didn't get a damn thing, you didn't get a dime. And we work hard night and day to help to build this country into what it is right now. And that's slave labor. And I never got nothing out of being black and picking cotton down in Waycross, Georgia. You know. But we came to this country as a part of labor. That was our cultural identification. We were tied to cotton, tobacco, sugar cane, and various other forms of hard labor, which was imposed on us without any pay. And that's the way it was with us. Now, although slavery is hard, and it is not a very pleasant situation, one thing about slavery, you don't have to worry about unemployment. Always a job next door if you want. So, and we knew that, you know, slave labor, but we didn't have to worry about it at all. That as long as we picked cotton, you know, the old captain would give us just enough to keep us alive, but he wouldn't let us starve. So we had a place in the American economy. We were at the bottom, but damn it, there we were. Nobody was going to run us out. Well, we had a big to-do, which they called the Civil War. Now, the Civil War really was a war about labor. The truth of the matter is that the South, having access to free labor, for a while had an arrangement with the North that didn't have slavery, so that they sort of split the country in half. The South had slave labor, and the North had what they then called free labor. Well, that lasted for a while, and then the Supreme Court and Dred Scott decision and others kicked that out. In other words, they finally arranged so that a Southerner or anybody else could take his slave labor any place he wanted to go and work him in any part of these United States. Well, you can imagine what would happen to the workers in free labor in New York and in Philadelphia, Chicago, and Detroit if somebody could come into your community and work right next to the work that you did, somebody who was not even paid a penny. So this was a major question, and it really led to the Civil War. After the war was over, and we were ostensibly free, we thought we were for a while, they promised us 40 acres and a mule, and that sounded pretty good, you know, but somehow or other, that didn't happen either. So we graduated from slave labor to cheap labor. Now, no matter what the South felt about us even after we were free, we still were the ones who did the cotton picking and the planting and cooking the grits and getting Miss Ann and the children ready for school. As a matter of fact, if we sometimes tried to leave our jobs in the South, we were caught and put in prison and charged with some false crime, and we had to work our way toward freedom by providing cheap labor. And it wasn't the best kind of labor in the world, but it was cheap labor. And as long as we stuck to the formula, once again, we didn't have to worry too much about unemployment. We were employed even though we were cheaply employed. When we got rid of that arrangement, we came to the unskilled labor category. While the factories were beginning to burgeon and bloom up north, and the various economic institutions were being established, you know, we were assigned the jobs that didn't require much education or anything else. All we needed to have was strong back and hopefully a weak mind. And the economy had a nice place for it. But a short while ago, even within my own time, the nature of our economy began to change. It began to change from an economy that produced products and automobiles and bicycles and airplanes and things like that. It got to be a service economy, which is a different economy altogether. And while we had in the producers economy, we did have the unskilled labor category. And at that time, you know, 3 out of every 4 jobs in the black community were in the unskilled category. And although we didn't make much, we could take those few pennies we did make and build schools and churches and publish newspapers and magazines and establish black communities and go on. But now the truth of the matter is, there is now no place for unskilled labor, no place for cheap labor, no place even for slave labor. They got robots, they got computers, and they got high-tech equipment that's already committed to doing anything that you can do for absolutely nothing. Now, where does that leave us as black people? You know, what are they gonna do with us? I go around to universities and campuses and various places like that, and I'm glad to see the young people there, particularly the young black people, preparing themselves. But I also go around to prisons, and I see more ambitious, beautiful, bright, young men sitting in prison. And I begin to suspect that since they don't need us now in the economy at all, they have finally decided that they're going to build enough prison to hold our asses. Now, what is our recourse? We have, the choice. Are we just going to sit there? Are we going to pay our own way to the prison and beg them to let us in? Or are we going to remember who we are? Are we going to remember our history? Are we going to remember that our history is tied up intimately with the history of work in this country, and how on many occasions it was the unity of the black worker and the white worker that determined our fate in this country, including that time at the Civil War. What I'm saying to you is, what I truly appreciate about this day and this opportunity is this chance to remember once again that union that meant so much to us, that strength that we had as we joined hands, black and white together. Because I think the time has come when we've got to go back to the barricades one more time. That's right. We need each other now like we never needed each other before. But if you look, the jobs which we came all the way from Africa to 10 free, they're now taking them and sending them overseas. And we have to not only begin to speak for ourselves as workers here, but we got to, in order to protect ourselves as workers at all, begin to speak with authority for all the workers in the world. We cannot afford, we cannot compete, no matter what we do, with the poor women of Bangladesh who work, 12, 14, 16 hours a day for the little money that they get paid. And do you realize, according to the United Nations, recently, in terms of the count of the world population, we have 6,100,000,000 people with us on the planet now. Already, there are people who have no access to what they need to keep their families alive. And half the people in the world work for less than $1 a day. Now, is that going to happen to all of labor? Is that where the bosses want us all to go? So that we will all work for less than $2 a day? Or has the time come for us to do something about it? Has the time come for us to challenge those? The time come for us to say to those who are in the high executive chambers of Enron and other companies like that, countries which take the workers' money and rob them of it within our side. Are we going to sit still and let that kind of thing happen to us? Because if we are, then we might as well give up Labor Day, we might as well give up Black History Day, we might as well report back to the cotton plantation and say, although you ain't even got no cotton, I'll pick it for nothing. Or, in the name and image of a poet like Langston Hughes, who was a workers' poet, in the name and image of heroes like Harry Bridges and Paul Robeson, men who understood from the get-go how labor is the foundation of wealth, and labor deserves the first crack at what we call profits. We don't get, sometimes we don't get any of it, but believe me, none of it would be there except for our labor, our skill, our capacity to work. Now, so, my brothers and my sisters, I come to you with joy and excitement and thanksgiving and gladness to see you sit here, to hear you laugh together, to see and feel that you understand what the challenge is, and to know from your own history that you have the wherewithal to do what needs to be done, to put the marching feet of labor back in the streets, to challenge once again those who would destroy the country for their own greed, those who even now after all these years, continue to rape the African continent so that countries that fought and died for their freedoms are now on the verge of going down the sinkhole because the profits from, the New World Order, is being built at their expense. No. We must build a world that is dedicated to the satisfaction of the needs of those of us who have worked to make it what it is. It is ours by right. We must stand strong as Paul would have us do, as Harry would have us do, as Langston would have us do, and as Mama would have us do. Take back our, thank you.
I also have another special award right here from Mr. Ozzie Davis. I'm going to hold it up and read it to you. Presented to keynote speaker Ozzie Davis in appreciation for your participation in the celebration of Black History and Labor program, February 20th in Tacoma, from event sponsors Willie Adams and Mike Chambers, executive producers. Thank you.
So much, it's a pleasure to be here. I want all of you to do.
Sunday. I want to see everybody there Friday morning. Is everybody sing it? All right.
All right. The mayor of Tacoma, Bill Barton, in the house. And as I said before, there are two gentlemen who I met last year when they were putting this on. It was the first one, and at that time, he thought it was going to be the only one, and he decided to do it again, and I am so grateful. I think everyone here is grateful that they decided to put this together again. Please, put your hands together for Tacoma Longshoreman, Willie Adams.
At this time, we'd like to have Prince Cesar Delmini come to the podium, please. This is the plaque here for Prince Cesda from us. And also, we have also a special for his grandfather. His grandfather has sent greetings to us, and he was telling his grandfather about the program when he was over in South Africa a couple weeks ago. And Mr. Mandela sent his greetings and his wishes not only to me and Michael, but to all the longshoremen and to the community and to all the people in the state of Washington. And what the plaque says, presented to guest speaker Prince Cesda Delmini, in appreciation for your participation in the celebration of Black History and Labor Program, February 20th, 2002, Tacoma, Washington. From event sponsors, Willie Adams, Mike James. He's going to get two. He's got to take one home for himself, his other one's for his grandfather. And it said, presented to the Honorable Nelson Mandela, in appreciation for your support and your kind words of encouragement, the celebration of Black History and Labor Program, February 20th, Tacoma, Washington. From event sponsors, Willie Adams, Mike James.
Well, I'm deeply humbled. This is very special. I don't think I'll ever forget it because it's 4 days before my birthday. Thank you. God bless you.
Our next two plaques are for Paddy Crumlin from the Maritime Union of Australia and Mr. Bevan Longbottom. This is a special one to Paddy. It's a nice plaque and it's got a clock on it. And like I said, Paddy is one of the most dynamic labor leaders in the world. We're really blessed to have him. And also we want to thank Bevan, who came with him, who's a rank and file member. And that's one thing about longshoremen. There's always an officer, but there's always a rank and file guy, and that's what we're about. First, Mr. Paddy. And Mr. Bevan here. In appreciation of your support for coming all the way from Australia. We really appreciate it. It's the state of Washington. Mr. Bevan Longbottom.
On behalf of the maritime working men and women of Australia, thank you for letting us share in your love and your history, because I've come away, and I know we've all come away, with something far greater than the sum total of us all being here today. Long live the labour and workers of America, long live the workers of the world.
I don't know what to say. I'm totally overwhelmed with this. Travelled a long way, and just like to thank Willie and Mike to be here now, and continually struggle. Thanks very much.
His Roger Bass Flute, the president of Local 23 here, please. This is me and Mike's present not only to the community, but to labor unions and to people. And me and Mike, we just want to say very much how glad we are to be members of the IOW, and this is a plaque that we'd like to have sent to Local 23. And it says, presented to the International Longshore and Warehouse Union Local 23, in appreciation for your support and participation in the celebration of Black History and Labor Program, February 20, 2002, Tacoma, Washington, from Willie Adams and Mike Chambers. This is
What a wonderful day we've had here, and this tops it all off. One quick thing to the longshore locals up and down the coast. Don't you guys wish you had Willie Adams in your local?
We've only got one more. And you know, anytime you have a great presentation or a celebration like this, it takes a great master of ceremonies. And at this time, I'd like to have Tony B. from 95.7. I'd like for you guys to see, this is a clock. This is it here. And it's in marble. And it says, presented to the Master of Ceremonies, Tony B., 95.7 The Beat, in appreciation for your participation in the celebration of Black History and Labor Program, February 20, 2002, Tacoma, Washington. From event sponsors, Willie Adams, Mike Chambers. We love this brother. Thank you.
This is awkward. Well, I have nothing to say. I just really want to thank you guys, and I guess, well, like Ozzy said, and like Miss Tyson said, thank my mom.
Agrippa is going to close with a poem that he has for everybody here that he wants to say, and the name of the poem is called Gifts. And then Brother David Quinns will give us the final benediction.
I just want to say this. This is definitely the ultimate for being the president with such wonderful, wonderful people. And I would have to say thank you once again to Mike Chambers and Willie Adams for putting this on, because it is totally out of this world. It's a pleasure to be here. You know, my father always said when you give, you got to be willing to put everything on the line. And these two brothers have done that. This poem is titled Gifts. The world says, love all your earthly riches, for that's the only way to be. But the things that are important in life are the things given to us for free. If you do the opposite to what the world is doing, most often you'll be right. For the world looks at things differently. It prefers darkness rather than light. In this world, you can have $1 million and then become very poor. But you can replace all those millions and you can make millions more. But look at all the free gifts you have, from your sound mind to your sense of taste. Now lose any of those free gifts